Well, it is straight up 2:30 right now if we want to go ahead and get started. So, did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting? And thank you, John, for putting them together for us.
Yeah, I reviewed them.
Okay. There was only one thing that I want to be sure we talk about sometime during the meeting, and that is the portion the city owes for the farmers market. I want to make sure we cover that and see if we've received the funds from them for that. So we don't have to do it right now. We can do it in, I don't know, other business or whatever. But I didn't see anything. There was a typo in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs down. It says, as it has better something with customers. So you might want to just fix that. But other than that, I'm fine with it. We did approve, just for what, just so you'll know, Ashley Dozer at our last A&P meeting. I'm sorry, city council meeting. So she's an official member of the A&P commission. However, she had a surgery scheduled for today, and so it wouldn't be possible for her to attend this meeting. But she's very enthusiastic. I talked to her and her husband, about a week ago now, and they're really anxious to get started. Or I say they. I told you they kind of come as a team. They do understand Ashley's the only person that can vote. But anyway, they're very enthusiastic about this opportunity to be part of the commission, so they can understand and be involved. Okay, so if there is no corrections to the minutes, I think I need a motion to approve them, and then a second. Someone?
So moved.
Got a second from Tom? All right. So all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye or raise your hand so we can see you. All right.
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? No. All right. Minutes are approved. So the next portion of the business, we're going to move into financials. Susan, are you going to cover those? You must be on mute, Susan.
You need me to talk you through them? You have them in front of you.
Yeah. So I think this is the most succinct. I don't know what just happened. I just had something pop up on my screen here. I don't know what I think probably Brandon did that. I think it's the most succinct view we've had so far. Brandon or Susan, can you take us through where we are with our accounting firm right now, Bird & Massey?
Yes, Sharon Bird and I have been working hard to put in the receivables and the payables through 2019, and we're just starting 2018 in order to get solve some problems, find stars, and do a good comparison for you. So 2019 is complete. That's why you have the comparison for 6 months, 19 and 20. We still, Bird wants to refine things a bit more, not so much with the accounting, other than the problems that we're solving, but with some of the procedures, establishing the post office box and having the tax payments come electronically directly to them and things like that. And we're working on that. Do you need more?
No, I mean, I think there are, maybe some highlights. I went through it, and I'm really, really, pleased to get to, like I said, a real succinct view of this. You can see our income is down through the end of May, $7,463. That's actually a little better position than I thought we might be in. In our net operating income, if you move all the way down to the bottom of the page, so through May, we're actually down, $9,000, where we were up $21,500 last year. That's probably, just due to some shifting taking place.
Well, this is just through May 31st.
Yeah, right. And I understand that. I will say just a couple comments. One thing that a number I looked at the, I guess the outgoing and expenses, year to date. I was surprised we've only paid the city $892 so far. Because I do know I saw several bills from them, and I don't know exactly what the dates were, but I would have thought that number would have been a little bit higher than that. And I know we transitioned over to Bello, but Carrie continued to do our financials for a period of time. So
now she actually backed out the communications portion of it.
She did.
She did, yes. Yeah, so that bill dropped.
Okay.
And we also have all of these that are on my screen that are marked with highlight. So those are all non-recurring costs. So essentially, we're paying them one time.
Right. And it looks like we paid the POA charity golf tournament a little earlier this year than we did last year because it's not showing up for 2019. So... What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's it. I just saw that. Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, most of our big advertising costs, especially Arkansas.com and some of the larger co-ops that we were a part of, we won't be doing those again, and we won't be stepping back in with Democrat Gazette again either. So those will stay, so those numbers will drop.
Well, there are already several expenses that we haven't paid this year that we did last year. So anyway, like Brandon, whenever he first made his proposal during December of 2019, he talked through absorbing a lot of those costs into their management fee. So we can see that that's been happening.
And the nice thing too is when we get to the sort of the year-to-date presentation, I've also broken up all of those sort of sections of that contract in timelines, including the admin costs. So you'll be able to see how it's divided over all the different subjects.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any questions over the financials or any comments? I will say I do know I went out and looked at our Arvest account just to see where we stood as of today. We have a $46,000 CD that's with Arvest, and in our checking account balance, we have $65,116. So, we have total account balance or, total balance of cash of $111,000, right now. So we're in pretty good shape, financially.
Well, Doug, I thought it was pretty encouraging considering the COVID-19 situation. There's a little shortfall on the income side, but really it could have been worse. It's somewhat encouraging, actually.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. And two, Brandon, maybe we were going to talk about this in another portion, but, everybody received the letter from Byrd and Massey. And Brandon, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but they are actually going to help us determine who our non-payers are. That's basically part of their service, moving forward. So, I don't want to make an absolute statement, but I think we probably have several Airbnbs and VRBOs that may potentially not be paying their AMP tax right now.
We have
Go ahead.
we have a number of restaurants as well, and I think that is on the agenda a little bit later. I do have a little bit more of a detailed report.
Okay. Well, I'll just hold it for then. Okay. So if everybody's okay with our financials, again, I'll need a motion to approve them in a second.
So moved.
Got a second out there. Tom is a second. All right. I can't see everybody, but so all in favor of approving financials, just raise your hand say aye.
Aye.
See.
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? No. All right. So the financials are approved. All right. So we've already talked a little bit about. Well, you want to go through the snapshot report, Brandon?
Let's see. Wait. Well, essentially, hold on. What do we classify as the snapshot report?
I don't know. It's on here.
It's from the previous.
I'm sorry. That's
I believe it's the financials. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Old business. I'm sorry. Accounting transition. And Susan, you've already spoke to some of that. You want to? Is there anything?
I think it's going very well. I mean, it's been a very odd time because Bird was very hit with the COVID-19, and that they got very short staff because a number of their staff, including Amber, who is the woman that you initially talked to, was at home because she's a widow with young children. So they were very understaffed. And then it turned out, because of COVID-19, we're right in the middle of tax season until yesterday. So actually they did an amazing job of really rallying and getting all of the 2019 stuff. They work completely on the accounts, the taxes that are coming in and the receivables that are coming in. And then we're responsible for the payables. And so I worked very hard on that, but I also had to learn the accounting software, and Bird has been very, very helpful in walking me through all of that. And as their last bill was only the $318 that they said they were going to charge us on a monthly basis. So I'm very pleased.
And at the bottom of this letter from the CPA, she does detail or mention the fact that they will identify all food and lodging tax filers and to remedy the delinquency of the same. So they apparently have some method by which to identify them. Is that through city records?
Well, they have to work with the legal counsel to find out what's legal to do. She thinks they should be available through city records, sales tax records, and not only the amount of tax that they owe back all the way to 218 or whenever we want to start, but also contact information, which did not come to us from the city. So I've been putting it together as I get it over time, but we have some work to do with Bird, but she wants some legal direction. Her idea is that the form letter would come from the attorney, but that she would cross-check the Excel files from the sales tax records of what folks are supposed to owe, and then she would be able to understand how much everybody was in arrears or if they were currently compliant, and then an individual letter would go out telling them what they owed, including the late fees. So that could be a significant amount, because there are a few of them who were paying and then ceased to pay for whatever reason. When I can figure it out with social media or whatever, then we make that kind of notation in their account. But there still are a lot of people that owe us money. But she wants to be careful with the legality of it.
Okay. So, the next item on the agenda is taxpayer compliance. Do we have the, I'm just going to call it like a grid of who's been paying by month yet, or
we have
working in that direction?
Right. We have two things. One, I kept a grid since Bella Media took over the management, but now that it's, and I still am maintaining the grid, but now that it's in QuickBooks online, they're called members in QuickBooks. Every restaurant and every vacation rental actually has their own account, and they're in their even when we don't know the amount, as owing something for the month. So it's very carefully kept track of now.
Even if it's a zero.
Well, even if it's zero, they're supposed to send in the tax form stating that it's zero. If they don't send in the tax form, we just mark it. It just is as if it is unpaid. I can't, unless I get a form or Sharon does, we don't know that they didn't pay it because they didn't make any money. Some people do send in the zeros, but a lot don't.
Right. But I mean, if we don't get a form, then we just have to assume, that it's a zero or they didn't pay. One or the other. I guess.
One or the other. Right.
Right.
Or in some cases, and that's when, we try to keep track of what's happening in Bella Vista, and we know that they've closed or they have some kind of a problem, then.
Yeah. And two, just for what it's worth, we know that Bentonville, they had the same issues that we do. So hopefully we'll be able to, to come to some better resolution on this as we move forward. Okay. Anybody have any questions in that regard?
Doug, I had a question. My prior understanding was that Airbnb paid it on the corporate level, but VRBOs you had to ferret them out one at a time. Is that how it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, even several of the AMPs have considered moving toward Verbo legally speaking, but that hasn't gotten legs yet. They've made various requests and or threats, but they're not sure whether they're going to take it legal.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a conversation a little farther down the agenda where I'll bring up why I think it's important for our Airbnb and our VRBO community, to pay their tax, because we're going to be working very hard, to encourage people to come, to Bella Vista, which they're only going to benefit from. But I'll save that as we get down to this Bike Magazine co-op conversation. But Brandon, we both attended this Veterans Wall funding proposal. But if you want to kind of talk through that and where we landed.
Yeah, we had a very good meeting with them, a very good cause. Essentially, the project that they have is expanding the current monument with a circular sidewalk with planters that will include additional names. There's a short wall that goes around it that will have additional names. So we saw the presentation. It was reasonably ambitious. They also are considering doing a sculpture garden with miniatures of monuments from around the country. In this conversation, we shared with them our interest in helping them promote the cause, absolutely, but that we were not funding brick and mortar projects. So what we wanted to do is once it's a little bit further along, sit down with them, connect them to community resources if those are available, and then also help them with their promotion and marketing plan of the facility. And they were fine with that. Once they realized that our focus was advertising and promotion, they were fine with accepting that form of our participation.
Yeah, it was a real good conversation, and I have a huge appreciation for this organization, the gentleman that came in and talked to us, and their kind of goals and their mission. I think they're still in the process of kind of sketching it out. If they're able to bring it to fruition, it's going to be really just a really awesome, piece of Bella Vista. And I have no doubt that people are coming here to see that. I mean, in its current state, it's already very impressive. But
Doug and I went out there and walked the site, and just to get a sense of the potential. Its location is wonderful, right next to the trail, and there were already people there milling about. So it has a lot of potential to be a destination, and we did talk to them about that. That they are trying to build something that is not replicated for quite a ways, and that it really would be something that people would come specifically to visit.
Yeah, I tell you, it was really, I've been there before, But this was on a weekday, and the number of people that were coming and going, both in vehicles and on bicycles and just walking, it was pretty impressive. I don't know if anyone's aware. It was in the Weekly Vista this last week, but there are two young men that actually put together like an ice cream business and put a mobile van or whatever it is you want to call it out there. They were all set up and ready to go to kind of take advantage of some of that traffic that's already there. So, but anyway,
excuse me, Doug, but I was just going to say they probably the Veterans Wall of Honor probably doesn't have to worry about making any miniature statues. There's just tons of statues all over the country now that they can probably just take.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. That. Okay. Any other questions on the Veterans Wall? No. Okay. Golf tournament wrap up.
Yeah. So the golf tournament was really a lot of fun for my team to participate in. As I mentioned in the sort of snapshot, we created quite a bit of content that was built around the players and their backstories. One thing that was interesting was that we sent out a survey to get background information on the folks, and we got 90% of the surveys that we got back were from the WAPT. So they were incredibly enthusiastic and happy to be here, happy that we were focusing on them and telling their story. And we plan to continue those relationships afterwards. So we do have the entire mailing list for both the APT and the WAPT. And so we will be cultivating a relationship with them slowly over time and working with the POA, working with Kim, and as well as Daryl to sort of create Bella Vista as a vacation spot, even when they're not playing in the tournament. And then eventually, hopefully, have this as a place where they're going to locate permanently. So it's a long-term plan, but it was a really good start of that relationship. And when I go down into the marketing and advertising part, then I'll show you a little bit of that content.
Tom, any feedback from your perspective?
I felt that the event went very well. I know that from a marketing point of view, we got quite a bit of exposure from the one WAPT player. She saved a person's life. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but she was staying at a guest house. A person that was providing them with a place to stay during the tournament, and she heard a commotion in the backyard and looked out, and someone had driven a golf cart, a private one, down a hill, and the lady had been launched into the lake. And by the time the player got down there, the person was face down, and so she literally saved this lady's life. And I think it was covered on the Golf Channel. So,
yeah.
Great story all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys did an amazing job, and I must say, working with Daryl was a real pleasure. He is a master of human relations and strategy and management. Just so many things in that one person. I really enjoyed working with him, Tom.
Yeah, and Tom, you really got some nice coverage from the Arkansas Democrat, in the sports page.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really nice write-up. I think all 4 days. That was really neat to see. And another thing, I thought the men and the women playing together. I hope they don't change that in the future. I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with that. It went very, very well. With everything that was going on or still going on with COVID, to pull off that event and for it to be so successful, it went really well.
Yeah.
I'd also like to just thank Susan. She reached out to all of the media folks and cultivated those relationships for a couple of weeks prior. And also a shout out to Abby, who's also on this call. She worked with the players to get their information, put together the golf survey. She herself played golf in high school, so luckily someone on the team knew what was going on. So much props to Abby.
I have one quick question. And this came from Charlie Teal, who's president of the Bella Vista Foundation. And he just wanted to know if that $7,500 is going to be
Yes.
mailed soon.
That is correct. Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
This is John. I had a question. There was an email fairly early on from Brandon, and it said something about usage of Airbnbs related to the golf tournament.
Yeah.
And I wasn't clear. It almost sounded like you were sold out or sold all you thought you would, or I wasn't sure what.
So let me go ahead and show you. Let's see, which one is that? So the campaign that we ran before the tournament, essentially reaching out to the golf players and letting them know that the Airbnbs were an option. And what we did was we couched it in a framework of, the closer you stay to the tournament, the more relaxed you'll be. And in fact, we even went so far as to talk about the construction on the road there between Bella Vista and Hotel Row, and encouraged them really doing a landing page, talking to them about all of the benefits of staying in the Airbnb, staying close to the tournament, as well as pushing them to the Airbnb site in order to register. So by the time we got to the tournament, we did not have any more capacity in the Airbnbs. So overall, that was an excellent campaign. What we did do once we did not have any more capacity at the Airbnb was we reached out to Visit Bentonville and made a sort of an agreement with them that they would provide lodging as well at a discounted price. And then we adjusted our campaign to reflect that.
So, I think that's fantastic, especially considering how many players are staying at somebody's house for free, that you were able to accomplish that.
Yeah, it was really nice, and it was so nice to have some good news to report. I'm on the NADA calls and also the Visitor and Convention Bureau calls, so we always are giving reports and so much sort of down information these days. And so it was really nice to sit on a call and provide a really great report about the tournament and about the connection with the Airbnb.
Hey, Brandon, just real quick, Dan is trying to get into the meeting.
Okay.
And it says, waiting for the host to let me in. Do you see anything from him?
Let me stop the share for a second.
Sorry, guys.
I see. There's Cassie was waiting. Who else? I don't see Dan in the waiting room. In fact, I did let him in before. Oh, there he is. I got him.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, anything else on the golf tournament? All right, we'll move on to A&P operations.
All right, so let me, Yeah, so it's been an interesting 6 months, especially during this time of COVID, and we've done a lot of growth, learned a lot. And one thing that I wanted to kind of share with you guys today was how our labor is divided sort of over the project and what we focus on. So as you can see here, this admin section between the sort of the financial stuff and as well as legal, farmers market, COVID, et cetera, we certainly had a lot more admin hours than we expected. So we had some overages, but if you go to the next slide here. But we went ahead and ran it against COVID. So essentially, much of our admin overage directly relates to COVID activities. And then, like I said, as well as farmers market, et cetera. In terms of how far we've gotten on the projects that we've intended to work on, the ticketing system is almost done. We are behind on the knowledge base, but I will show you an example of it today. Help desk is almost complete. The pay portal is attached to the help desk, so we're behind on that. In terms of taxpayer outreach, that's the place where we really wanted to put some more time into. Now that we can dial back some of these admin hours, we can put a lot more time into the outreach. Accounting forensics, we also didn't account for that initially, but that's almost complete. And then the time that we put into the accounts receivable, that's almost through with all of those functions. And then the accounts payable, we still want to get a more efficient way to do that, make that digital, especially the signature process. So we're a bit behind on that. But all in all, it's been pretty successful. We've learned a lot. Certainly the folks that are working on the project are getting their systems down, their procedures down. So we think we can really bring down the admin hours moving forward.
Okay. So your A&P operations and your project management, that's kind of one and the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially what we were trying to do is streamline everything as much as possible. When we originally considered speccing the job, we specced it really as a digital advertising agency. We run a very, very lean and tight ship when it comes to digital marketing, but that's because everything is incredibly predictable and repeatable. What we found out here is that there's a lot of stuff that is not predictable and not repeatable, as well as the amount of time that we put into COVID. Now, we put a lot of time into networking within the community, and that does fall under stakeholder management. And we put a lot of time into staying plugged in to the COVID situation so that we could be up on that, both the legal situation as well as what we could do for the taxpayers. So a lot of that stuff will get less and less as we move forward.
Yeah, Brandon and I, we met a couple days ago just to kind of talk through everything, where we are and, just about a couple of opportunities that are out there. And, just from a personal perspective, I mean, I think I'm taking some relief in finally where we are getting to because it was certainly a struggle. We had some challenges early on. And then again, we keep talking about it, the COVID, that reared its ugly head, and that didn't make things any easier. But we've managed our way past a lot of these things that were hanging over our heads. And I think we can kind of take a deep breath and a new perspective moving forward. And, because you're maybe not quite, as close to it as I am, but I will tell you that Brandon and his team, they do a fantastic job networking in Northwest Arkansas. And he has a lot of really great connections. And he's developing a lot of really key relationships with players in Northwest Arkansas. And it's going to benefit us. And one of the things that's come up, again, we're going to be talking about it in a minute. But overall, although our legal, Vince, I think he was supposed to be on today. I don't know what happened. He's not. He has actually helped us out on several questions that we have had legally. Just real quick turnaround things. We haven't gotten anything on our bylaws yet or financial policy, but I'm sure we will. But he has been helpful to us. And again, our accounting, that's getting all buttoned up. I feel really good about that. That's a huge relief. And again, the networking. So something I did mention with Brandon this week are the KPIs that he developed, at the very beginning that he and I will sit down. We need to go through those and scrub them. And because, whenever you first kind of start out, you're kind of altruistic and you have all these things you want to do, but we need to go back and review it, scrub it, see the KPIs after this 6 or 7 months has kind of gone under the bridge. What makes sense to continue, to leave on a KPI, and what really doesn't make sense, and really button up their responsibility to our A&P, and what is it that we really need to be doing, just kind of tighten those things up a little bit. We don't want to just leave that document out there as it originally was and not, make it, not review it, again, not kind of scrub it and not tighten it up and not make it where it's not actionable. So we're going to be doing that here in the next.
I'll go over quite a few of those KPIs today.
Okay.
And kind of we'll sort of talk about how they can be used to paint a picture of moving in the right direction as well.
Okay. All right. So any questions on the project management or operations? Okay. So marketing and advertising.
Yeah. Let's see what I'm going to talk about today just a little bit. One is that we had 3 separate periods of advertising, as well as 3 separate periods of content. So we have pre-COVID, then we have COVID, and now we're coming out of COVID. And so each one used a different type of channel. So we spent a lot of energy in display ads before COVID very aggressively. Then, according to the U.S. travel during COVID, we needed to pull back a lot and focus on real internal work. And we did that with social. And now that we're returning to the market, we're going back to display ads as well as social. Now, one thing is that we are getting the website, the regular website property. We have that now. We're in the process of moving all the content from the sites that we built, sort of the side satellite sites. We're moving all of that content onto the regular site. Now, we did quite well overall in terms of new users. So very good in the organic side. That's an amazing number. Really, we have a lot of really strong organic traffic to the sites. Now, we had 3 properties, and this is just sort of a graph to tell you what type of traffic was for each, as well as, so some of these KPIs, for example, time per session, pages per session, all of those are looking really good on our new properties. And the reason is because the new properties are very in-depth stories. A lot of those were organized by Susan, and people are interested in them, spending a lot more time reading them. And once we move that stuff over to the main site, we think we're going to get even better numbers. In terms of our content ratio, again, this has changed quite a bit. So as you can see, we have a kind of a balance between biking and nature. We strike that balance on all of the social properties. We did put a lot of time into the COVID, but that'll start going down quite a bit as well. In terms of the social media, it's the same thing. When we were in COVID, we spent a lot more time on local content, a lot of from our sort of our guides. And so that's going to move more toward the bicycle, more toward the trails as we move forward. And, it depends. We do respond to U.S. travel quite a bit. And a lot of their suggestions were to not focus on risky activities, to do things that are closer to home, that you can't get hurt, etc. Now, those do change little by little, but we'll always be responsive to that. So in terms of our actual website, so it's actually done pretty well, but these are some of the KPIs. I will send you a PDF of all of these stats, and this will be our benchmark from where we're starting, and you'll be able to see as we move forward that these things are either improving or not. So these are all of the fundamental measurements of a website success. And so you'll receive this. So this will be a snapshot, and then you'll be able to directly compare our results on the website as we move forward. The same thing is true with our reach. So you see that we have a very strong focus on Arkansas. That's mainly because of our advertising during COVID, advertising closer to home. That will spread out in terms of the drive market as we go forward. So you'll also be able to see that how our strategy changes as we go forward and get a more outwardly looking program. This is also a KPI that you will get. So this is SEO. This is how well the search engines like our website. So this is an actual report that I ran on our current site. And you can see it essentially tells you how well you're doing with Google, how much Google likes you. And it also tells you where you rank on search terms. So for example, down here, these are various keywords that Google has. And the higher you rank on those keywords, the easier it is for people to find you. So that's a solid KPI that we'll be measuring. So you can see for the search term, Bella Vista, Arkansas, we ranked 6, restaurants at Bella Vista 3. So what we'd like to do is through our work is bring those numbers up so that we rank higher and higher on Google. So those are all very measurable, and those are standard ways in which you can evaluate the programs. The same thing is true in terms of whether the site has any errors and how fast it loads. That's a huge, huge issue. So this loading time on mobile currently is fair. It's really slow on mobile, but it is okay on desktop. So those are also things you'll receive this snapshot. So the next time we measure, those things should be better, significantly better. So those are kind of the practical KPIs that are connected to the digital process. Let's see over here. All right. So we have a number of different properties. So this is the blog. I think most of you have taken a look at it. All of these stories most of these stories were created in Bella Vista with local guides, local photographers, etc. We will continue that content program, but all of that content will be moved over to the regular website as well as the golfing content. So we did a lot of sort of one-off properties when we were branding a particular event. So this content will be adapted and moved over to the main website as well. And also you can see, for example, this is the craft fair map. So if you go down to where we are, so everyone lists their hotels, and that is not, we don't have hotels. So what we did was developed actual landing pages for each type of sort of target market, traveling with kids, romantic getaways, big family, lots of friends, and we drive them to a purpose-built landing page for that. So this is a craft fair landing page. And then this content itself, so for example, if you click in here, then we highlight individual properties that are good for that particular thing. So these are all pet-friendly properties. We highlight them, drive traffic there. So, we're always really focused on really tight targets and then driving them to a piece of content that is 100% relative to what they're searching for.
Hey, Brandon, how did you ferret out the properties that, fit each one of those?
Well, thanks to Abby, she's done a lot of it. Some of it is listed, and you can filter for it. And so, for example, this one's an easy one, that's pets. Other things are a little bit more subjective. So if you want to, let's say, do a guy's weekend, then we'll find a piece of property subjectively that we think would be awesome to do a guy's weekend in, or family friendly, or someone likes the water. So each of these, we've gone through the Airbnb. We spent a lot of time in Airbnb, by the way. And so we hand select these properties. What we don't know yet is if all of these properties are compliant, because we don't have that information. But what we want to do is, as we get that information, we will only include properties that are compliant with their tax. So hopefully this will be an incentive for them to participate because they know that we're working for them directly in terms of driving traffic to their property. Does that make sense?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah, so let me go forward here. All right, so one thing that I wanted to show here is, I wanted to show you quickly kind of the evolution of our ad profiles. And, one thing we were talking, Doug and I were talking about, how we market ourselves in relationship to the other cities. And so inside Bella Vista, we tend to be, very collaborative. We're always collaborative. But certainly outside of Bella Vista, when we're marketing to the out market, we take a more aggressive stand in terms of how we're positioned. And one thing that we're always doing is referring to the Bella Vista experience as extraordinary or out of the ordinary. And we're often hinting that going to a hotel in Hotel Row or anywhere else is an ordinary experience. So that's really how we're positioning ourselves. So we're not saying that we're necessarily the best, but what we are saying is that the experience we can offer is significantly more enjoyable, more unique, more nuanced, and can be modeled around the desires of the visitors. So you can see we have a lot of content that go into our ads that have that positioning in it. So this actually here, that statement, we used Ride, Chill, Repeat for quite some time. Then we noticed later on that quite a few folks are now using that. So we're very honored that they copied it.
So I'm sorry, Brent. So where do you find these ads?
Find them?
Are they on our website now?
No, these ads go out through so if you're in, let's say, Dallas, you will receive these ads targeted to you. So we use highly targeted profiles, and we market to all of the communities that would be interested in coming here to stay and play in Bella Vista.
Gotcha.
So these are actual, what they call them, display ads, and so we do them, almost all of them, outside of Arkansas.
Okay.
So you can see we do declare ourselves as, different things like e-bike nirvana, etc. And again, it's all done, to have fun. We keep it tasteful, but we are highly competitive in the drive market when it comes to the airspace out there.
Okay.
So you can also see that we do shift. We keep going down here. We do shift to, we try lots of different methodologies, different approaches, different lengths, and we get all of that data back and we adjust accordingly. So we do say things, for example, best kept secret in Oz. So we change up the tagline all the time, most trails in Oz, and each one we see, which ones get, more traffic, more interest. And each one of these represents a different campaign. So for example, this campaign is, tell us why you love Bella Vista. So the whole campaign is around that, with people responding. I love it when the C-suite asks me for directions. I love, I love getting lost only 20 minutes from town. So again, each one of these represents an individual campaign that goes out to the drive markets, and then we get the response from it and see what works best. Now, we did do a little bit of, actually these worked extremely well. Friends don't like friends, book boring hotels. So again, always out there, always pitching Bella Vista as a unique experience. These are specifically for retreats, meetings, and billion-dollar pitches. That was before COVID, so we will use something similar, but of course, adjust it for being not tone deaf.
I started to say not every single campaign is about biking. I mean, you have other.
That's correct. Almost all the campaigns for the drive market have to do with the overall Bella Vista experience of coming here, staying in an Airbnb, doing whatever you want on the trails, and eating in the restaurants. Essentially that's the picture that we're painting, is that it's a fuller and more unique experience than you could get in any other town in the vicinity. So when you come down here again, let's see. So we use different formats, but again, always talking about this unique experience that is Bella Vista, that you're not going to get. I mean, really, you're not going to get in any of the hotel rows in any of the other towns. And then we did a few for COVID. I'll show you. Yeah, group travel and retreats was a big push for us before we got to COVID. We also did a campaign here, which is, it's running on its own. So we also did a campaign, right here. This was an internal campaign, which was think globally, shop locally. And so we did push getting people to consider carry-out, delivery, gift cards, volunteer. We also had a landing page that tried to help educate people as to why gift cards are important, how they work. It's about paying it forward. It's like a micro loan. So we did a lot of work trying to sort of educate people on what they could do, how to participate during that period of time. And then you'll see now we switch. This is post-COVID. So we twisted. It's a little bit different. Enjoy a little more social distancing. Reconnect with the things you love, getting people to come out of their homes and to travel again. And your new home away from home. Escape the ordinary. This is an actual photograph by a Bella Vista photographer. It's quite remarkable.
Dana Johnson.
It's time to hit the road. We're still doing e-bikes. Yeah. So as you can see, I wanted to give you an overall feeling of all of the campaigns that have gone on in the last 6 months, how we approach the changing of the marketplace, how we respond to it. And so we'll continue to lean heavily into that because we've gotten excellent results from it. So any questions about that? That was a very fast overview our approach to branding and marketing when it comes to Bella Vista and positioning in relationship to the other towns. Any questions overall?
I think it looks fabulous, Brandon.
Well, good.
It is. It's awesome. It is. Any questions or anything? Any more comments? We'll move on to the Bike Magazine Co-op opportunity.
Yep. So Bike Magazine, they have an issue, and it's the Bike Bible. And they didn't initially call it that. It was a nickname that it got, but it did become the one bike test magazine of the year. So it's very prestigious, and it's evergreen content in the sense that people keep this particular issue all year, or even more than 1 year, which is different than most of the issues. The other part that's unique about this is they pick a single city to go to, and all of their coverage about that city is contained within this Bike Bible. Let's see. And so whichever city they choose is referenced in every single one of the tests, and you work with them to pick the right test for the right area, etc. And each of these stories is then published on its own and promoted with social media, etc. So whichever town has the opportunity to participate in this particular Bible will essentially for an entire year be in the conscious mind of almost anyone that rides. So it is a wonderful opportunity. Now we have, so Bentonville has been approached by the Walton Family Foundation to do a co-op with this particular Bike Bible. And they have also asked Bella Vista if we would like to participate. So what would happen is that you can see how this is built around Park City. Now, if you can imagine changing all the Park cities to Bentonville and Bella Vista, it would just be the two of us, and we would work with them to craft this experience. We have a lot of time to tell our story. We have a lot of time to choose which parts of the trails we want them to cover, in what way we want to talk about them. I can say that when we worked with Outside Magazine, they gave us final rewrite on the copy that they created, and we changed quite a bit to make sure it was consistent with our brand. So that is overall the opportunity. The price tag is $10,000 for each participant. So the Family Foundation is putting in 10, Bentonville's putting in 10. If we were to participate, it would be $10,000 to us. So it's a decent amount of money for sure. It is also, in my opinion, an amazing opportunity, one, to be part of this coverage, but two, to begin to enter into a shared dialogue with Bentonville in regards to how we are going to talk about this region in the press. So to me, that is one of the bigger upsides, is to actually have a seat at that table. So yeah, it's punching way above our weight class, but I think it's a very, very interesting opportunity.
Hey, Brandon,
Yes.
What's the circulation of this? Do you know?
It's about 500,000. Kayleen is still getting me the media kit, but she said it's about 550,000 the digital circulation, and about 35,000 in terms of the print circulation.
Okay. I think it sounds good.
Anybody else? Now, Brandon, we talked about this yesterday, when we might need to vote to approve this.
Yes. And I have, let's see if she's gotten back to me. She has not yet. So I asked her that question if we had to do that today. So I actually don't have the answer to that.
Okay. Yeah, so, Brandon and I, we talked about it, at length a couple days ago. And it's a big opportunity for us. We pulled back on a lot of other things that we had been doing in the past that we didn't think were very effective for had the really had really big potential for us. And this is an opportunity to redirect some of those funds that could have much greater benefit, for Bella Vista. And again, that Bentonville is reaching out to us to partner in this regard and maybe, elevate our stature, if you will, and give us more credit for what exists up here that, Bentonville seems to always want to continue to take advantage of. And some of that a lot of that we really can't control. Some of what Bentonville tries to take credit for, that's just their own messaging. And, I don't know if you want to get into some kind of a conversation about that or not, but again, they reached out to us.
Right. The way we do it, we make a lot of claims ourselves and they make a lot of claims. We do it in good fun. We are genuine partners. We spend a lot of time, in fact, all the AMPs spend a lot of time connecting and strategizing and planning. But the truth is they have way, way bigger guns than we have. So there's just a huge coffer on their side. I like the fact that, that this time we can pull up and sit down at the exact same table at the same level.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. You always have to watch it with Bentonville. It seems like they end up getting all the credit, and you have to kind of fight to make sure you're mentioned enough, is my perception.
Well, in this case, this particular case specifically, it's a joint mention. That's just the bottom line, so we don't have, there's not any opportunity to push us out of the way on this one or kind of like come in over the top. But if we decide not to do it, then they could basically go ahead and move forward on their own.
That is correct.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just want to mention, say one thing that's kind of always top of mind for me. So we have our AMP commission, and it's about advertising promotion. It's about elevating the visibility of Bella Vista to, locally, but also extending out farther to other parts of the country. And we do focus a lot on our biking. That has become, a major focal point for us, and probably for good reason. And I know, so we have a huge contingent of people in Bella Vista that are very, very supportive of that. I know that for a fact. I have regular conversations with that group. And then I know there's a group that is not really very supportive. I think the ultimate goal for me, what I think about is when these visitors come to town, we try to capture their dollars that they are going to dole out. Those dollars, if they're spent in Bella Vista, whether it's at Gazano's or JJ's or El Pueblito or any of our other myriad of restaurants, or it's Airbnbs, it's VRBOs, it's Harps, or it is Allen's, which, we have an opportunity to direct people to those places as well, because when people come up here to the VRBOs and Airbnbs, they're not eating out all the time. They need groceries. All the money that we can capture from those visitors helps us pay for our roads and streets, our police, our library furniture. We have a public safety building we're building right now, or we're getting ready to build. We're approaching. We have a new fire department we're getting ready to build, and we have a fire training facility. So any dollar that we can get spent up here from those visitors helps take some of the burden off of our local residents. And, that public safety, the fire department, and the fire training facility, we can pay those off sooner rather than later. With more people we can come and convince to stay here rather than down in Bentonville. So that I think about that very top of mind all the time, and that's one of the ultimate goals for me. So I just wanted to put that out there so that people don't forget that that's one of the goals of the AMP Commission, is to help convince people to come here and spend their money, because versus other cities, and everybody knows this, is certainly not a secret, and we talk about it a lot. we don't have the same avenues to generate revenue for our city as everyone else does. So things like this could be a big deal for us. That's it. I'm done.
So regardless of when it has to be approved, if people's feelings are positive, why wouldn't we just go ahead and vote on it today?
Yeah. Cassie, did you start to say something?
Yeah, I have a question, Brandon.
Sure.
So we were featured in the Bible of Bikes in 2017. They came in 2016 and they stayed in Bella Vista, and so their 2017 edition of the Bible featured Northwest Arkansas.
And how was the experience?
For the work that went into it, it was really not ideal, but it was the same situation where we were approached by Bentonville to participate in this, and there were other cities involved too. It wasn't just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just curious. It seems strange to me that they're featuring the same location. Is this for the 2020 test that would come out in 2021?
2021.
So only 4 years later, they're featuring the same location. Do they have a reason for doing that, or?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
It just seems strange that they would do it again. Granted, 4 years later, there's a lot that is different now in the region entirely, but I was just curious.
I know that the Outside magazine experience was very diffused through all of the cities. Now, the coverage that we did get was nice in the sense that we got to write it from our perspective, but it certainly was diffuse over the entire Northwest Arkansas. The part that does interest me is the 50-50 split, which, that seems very interesting to me. Now, when they were here, when you said you put in a lot of work to it, when they were here, how was that experience? Was it at least that part enjoyable and productive?
They had a lot of requirements as far as their lodging and what they needed. For instance, we had to rent an additional refrigerator for them to stock so that they travel with their own chef. So they shop for all their food. They do.
That's awesome.
So we had to bring in an additional refrigerator for them because they had so much food that they're going to need at their lodging facility. And the reason that they stayed in Bella Vista was because they had so many people that there was not a place in Bentonville that was big enough to house everybody. So they stayed in the beach house here in Bella Vista. But so on the forefront, it was very, we greeted them when they came here, and we had lots of meetings beforehand. Here's what we're going to do. And then it kind of fizzled out after that, and they just did their own thing. They asked for suggestions of places to go and what we wanted features and what hashtags we wanted to use and stuff like that. But as far as constant communications with the stuff that they're putting out while they're here, we really didn't have any of that. Bentonville had a little more control over that than we did. And then afterward, I remember the publication itself was really nice, and it did a great job of visually featuring the Northwest Arkansas area, but the copy was still very Bentonville-centric.
Right. I think, and I'm just thinking out loud here in terms of similar to the golf tournament, it will depend on to what degree and how aggressive we are in creating content while they're here simultaneously. So it would be up to us to leverage that, and if there was any disconnection, to try to make that connection, any imbalance, to try to balance it. Perfect, probably not, but I think we could push it pretty hard.
Yeah, and I will say too, people wouldn't be aware, and I probably wouldn't have said anything about it otherwise, but I got an email from Peter yesterday, and he was sharing a photo, a tweet, or something, and I'm not even really sure who put it up, but it was on the Visit Bentonville site. Shows a picture of somebody riding a bicycle, and it looked like Bentonville was, still trying to take ownership of the back 40 trails like they're theirs. And I think his message was, why are they still doing that? We need to do something to fix that. And then he sent me another photo, and it was, from a blog or something from our website that, was showing stuff, things from some of the birding community up here. And I guess he was trying to make a point. So here we have this opportunity in front of us. And, that was 4 years ago. And this is now. I think we have a lot more capability now than we did then to drive and develop our content. Bentonville reached out to us. So, I said that was then, and this is now. And maybe, hopefully we can make this a lot more value added than we were able to then. And again, Bentonville reached out to us. So, and the Family Foundation's involved in this one as well. Maybe they were last time too. I don't know.
They were.
Okay. So we have, 50 more miles of trails now? I don't know. I don't see how it can hurt us, but and we could just turn it over and let Bentonville run with it. We have that option too. Because it's going to happen regardless. Just do we want our name on it? So what do you guys? Any feedback? What do you think? Do you want to move forward and vote on this? Do you want to give it a little more time and get some more information? From Kayleen. Anybody?
Oh, sure. I've got it right here. Hold on one sec. I mean, you don't have to hold on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Brent.
What's that? Go ahead.
Brent, do you think you could have a conversation with Bike Magazine and address a couple of these concerns?
Absolutely. So, it would be our intention to create some form of an agreement ahead of time about the division of the coverage as well as what story we want to tell. And we can't completely control it, but like I said, with Outside Magazine, they sent us the copy and we basically rewrote it. I'm not saying it would be the same here, but we had a lot of editorial influence on that copy. And Cassie, you don't think that would be the same with Bike Magazine?
I'm not sure how it would be this time around. Like I said, a lot of things are different now. So,
okay, let's do this. Hey, Brandon, why don't you reach out to Bike Magazine? Just have the conversations you need to with whoever that is. Some of it's probably with Kayleen, some of it's with Bike Magazine. And when you get a little more information, hopefully, everybody would have availability where we could put a quick Zoom meeting together and have that conversation, and then we could vote on what direction we'd like to take.
All right, we can certainly do that.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else on that, or anybody else have any questions? Okay. Any other business?
I think get back to the agenda here. Yeah,
that was last.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anyone have anything else? No. Okay.
We're finishing on time.
All right.
Any thoughts about when the next meeting would be?
Would be the. Oh, go ahead, Doug.
No. Go ahead, Brent. That's okay. It's just we need to get back on a regular schedule for sure.
The third Thursday next month.
Yep.
That's 20th.
Darn. Doug, that's. I was just looking at the calendar the other day because of another meeting. That's when the Municipal League meeting is on Thursday the 20th.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually going to be up in Wyoming then too. Now that I think about it, so do we want to try to set a meeting date now? If you have your calendars out, you want to try to do it maybe the second Thursday of August. Does that work? Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
The 13th.
Yeah.
Works for me.
It's all right by me.
You're good. Ben? Don't know?
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Ben, what's up?
Yeah, well, let's shoot for that then. The 13th.
All right.
Okay. All right. If there anybody has anything else, I'm going to call it at 3:41. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
thank you, everyone.
Very much.
Really
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. See you.
Bye.